The question is that the motion be agreed to. Andrew Little.
Mr Speaker, there are times when the House has to do a number of things. First of all, not to reduce itself to comic entertainment, such as the last Speaker. And secondly, there are times when it is entirely appropriate for this House to put aside the robust cut and thrust that is the bear pit that is this Parliament, even during the weekly general debate, and to focus on those things that unite us. And this country and this House had that experience just a few years ago with one of the worst workplace accidents we've seen in this country's history. That was the Pike River disaster. And as a consequence of that tragic disaster, the country was united in the need to do better on workplace health and safety. And even within this Parliament, parties united around the need to do better when it came to workplace health and safety. And this government did the correct thing in assembling a high-powered Royal Commission of Inquiry that investigated the causes of that accident. And it went very widely, and it looked at the systemic causes, the regulatory causes, the things that the government itself contributed to. It was an honest appraisal, and it was a Royal Commission that came up with some very serious recommendations. And this government did the next important thing, the right thing to do. It drafted legislation and brought it to this House. A piece of legislation, a bill that truly reflected the issues raised by the Royal Commission. And it was part of that growing consensus amongst workers, amongst employers, politicians, civil servants, and in the entire community, that we needed to have something that was better than what we had, that protected workers at work. And I sat on the Select Committee, I had the privilege of sitting on the Select Committee, where we received many submissions. Some submitters, however, didn't speak to their submissions, such as the tallies, but then there was a reason for that, possibly, that they weren't part of the consensus. Perhaps now they will be. But, Mr Speaker, that piece of legislation inched its way forward, and there were contests of ideas, there was pushback, but in the end, the broad consensus remained until it went back to the National Party caucus. And then something happened. Something has happened in the National Party caucus in the last few months. And we cannot put our finger on it yet, and Maurice Williamson sits there rubbing his hands, I'm not sure whether with glee or with concern. But something has happened in that National Party caucus, and the consensus that has gripped the rest of the country, that once gripped this Parliament, has fallen apart. And we're entitled to know why. Because there is a very serious issue, continues to be a very serious issue about our health and safety performance. And we must be able to put long-standing differences aside. The National Party, which has always seen as itself as an ideological warrior for some in the employing class, but has never seen and never had a sense of pragmatism and unity when it comes to workplace issues, it has lost it completely. We must find the way to redraw that consensus, to bring it back together. It was encouraging last night, Mr Speaker, to see Amy Adams, the Minister of Justice, spoken so fondly of by the Attorney-General just now, who came out and said, yes, it's time for a corporate manslaughter law, and that she wanted to see it as part of the Health and Safety Reform Bill. What a pity that it wasn't in the first reading, in the first draft that came to the House. It would be a pity if it just appears as a supplementary order paper, because it is an issue that ought to have been the subject of public submissions. But what a positive step for a minister in a national government to take. Until, of course, a few hours later, we then saw the response, not from us, not from members of the community, not even from members of the employer community, but from her own National Party colleagues, who then started the process of pouring cold water on the idea. Well, it's time that this National Party and government understood the importance and the urgency of getting our workplace health and safety performance to improve. What is it with this National Party? Why is it so divided? Not just on this issue, but others as well. Why are they trying to lead a breakdown in the national consensus that we have on such an important topic? What has gone wrong? Well, Mr Speaker, let me be very clear. On this side of the House, we stand firm and true for better workplace health and safety, for proper accountability. We must never repeat the situation where directors sit around a board table and just positively ignore their obligations and their responsibilities. Bring that bill back, bring it back unchanged, give us better health and safety across New Zealand.